6 teams have already punched their ticket to Championship Sunday tomorrow here at the University of Dayton. 2 more to go tonight in Division I. We've got games coming up here at 5:15 and 8:30. Hello, everyone. I'm Ryan Baker. Welcome into the OHSAA's continuing coverage of the 102nd Boys State Basketball Championship here at the University of Dayton Arena. Glad to be joined today by Coach George Howard, Marissa Contepelli, and Chris Solwecki. They've both been working with the OHSAA Radio Network this week. And guys, let's just kind of go over what we've seen here at the state tournament so far. We mentioned 6 teams already set up to go for Championship Sunday in Division IV. Man, did we start off with a great game. Berlin Highland, double overtime. They beat Lima Central Catholic on a last-second three-pointer by Nick Wigton. They win 62-59. Coach, I know you were here for that. There's not a better way to tip off a state tournament than that.
That's what I said yesterday. I said, what a way to start the weekend. I mean, you couldn't ask for anything better going into double overtime. He gets wide open. Why he was wide open, I'll never understand it. But he was wide open, and he got the shot off, and he shot it with confidence, and it broke the camel's back, and that was a heck of a way to start it. And I can't wait till tomorrow.
Well, give me your assessment, Coach. I want to hear your thoughts on that point guard, the sophomore, Alex Miller. That young man is as gritty as they come at a 15, 16-year-old.
For Berlin Highland?
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah, he's tough. He gets downhill. He controls everything. He's tough. He can shoot the ball. He can get to the cup. And I'll tell you what I like about Berlin Highland. The same as what I just seen from a Maysville team. They're very well disciplined. And they trust in each other. And when you trust in your teammates, then that makes everything easy. I can't wait to talk about this game that just played.
Yeah, we're going to get to that one for sure. Coach, I don't know if it would have made a difference in this one, but Sammy Detweiler for Berlin Highland, he got off to a hot start. He scored 25 in this game, but he only played 26 minutes because of that foul trouble. 1, do you think that game would have been any different if he could have been on the court more? And 2, there's no way that he can afford to get in foul trouble tomorrow.
Yeah, they better tie his hands behind his back, but I'm going to tell you this. No, I don't know how much of a difference it would have made because the game was just going so tough and so hard, you know. But when you have one of your top players out, and it does hurt, you know. But it really doesn't matter. They won anyway. So, but tomorrow, I know he can't get in foul trouble, and he's got. I thought a couple of fouls with ticky tack, in my opinion. But you know, tomorrow. They got their work cut out for them, but I think they're going to come to play.
Well, and they got their work cut out for them because they're playing a Richmond Heights team that is just relentless. They beat Russia 65-52 yesterday. Richmond Heights, no stranger to this stage, and man, they are good.
One thing I'll tell you about Richmond Heights, and I'm sorry, guys, I just know these teams.
No, you're good.
Richmond Heights, I've seen them play several times this year. I mean, they're just tough, even without T.J. Crumble. 6'8" sophomore who they lost, one of the top 25 players in the country. They get up and down the court, and they defend. They're just fast. You've got to find a way to slow them down. Don't try to play to their level. Do what you do, and try to make them play to what you do, but you got to guard. If you don't guard them, they're going to kill you.
One of the things that impressed me with Richmond Heights is a lot of people, when they talk about a team like Richmond Heights, they think they're all flash, run and gun, up and down the court. They were 15 of 17 from the free throw line yesterday, while Russia was only 6 of 13. Now, that wasn't the whole difference in the game, obviously, but making your free throws are very key.
It's very important for a lot of games. Even this game that we just watched, there was some clutch free throws that was missed. And could have made it a little easier, but you got to hit free throws. That's very, very important. Very important.
So that's the Division IV final that we'll see tomorrow, 10:45 a.m. Berlin Highland taking on Richmond Heights, 2 teams that are both used to this stage. In Division III, we had another classic. Chris, you were on the sidelines for the OHSAA Radio Network. Harvest Prep beats Ottawa Glandorf and Mr. Basketball Colin White, 61-59 in another classic.
Well, and it was Harvest Prep big in the first half, and you thought they're going to run away with this, but Colin White put his team on his shoulders at the half, turned it around, climbed back into it, and You talk about a kid who is absolutely spent. You think he didn't leave everything on the floor? Of course he left everything on the floor. That's what makes him Mr. Basketball. It was a tremendous effort. White, by the way, 32 points, 13 rebounds, 5 blocks in a losing effort for Ottawa Glandorf. But for Harvest Prep, all props to Adonis Abrams, 26 points on 11 for 17 shooting, 3 of 5 from beyond the arc. Khalil Daniels with 10 points. Bench scoring, the two possible Achilles heels for Harvest Prep. One, they don't go very deep, only 9 players dress, and their bench points only equaled 7 points. So their points come from their starters. The other is they don't shoot free throws well. So they got to keep all 5 of their starters on the floor. One, not commit fouls, but then they've got to convert at the line because they're not going to be giving free passes all night long.
But I got to tell you something about Harvest Prep. Harvest Prep played all 9 players.
No, they did.
And I'll tell you something else. They may not give you a lot of points, but when they come in the game, they don't stop doing what they do. When they come in the game, they continue to come at you.
Yeah.
They continue to push that ball. And those guys, they're going to play their tails off. And that's the thing. How many teams can go 9 deep and don't drop off at what they do? And that caused problems for Ottawa Glandorf. And that's what tired Colin at the end of that game, because he missed a free throw that he would make 99 out of 100 times.
Well, and arms and legs everywhere for Harvest Prep, right? It's like playing against 5 octopi. They play so great in the passing lane. They just do such a great job with regard to that. So Harvest Prep is one of the finalists. They got the win 61-59 in the first game. Then Lutheran East and Preble Shawnee. Lutheran East really, really impressed me last night. Very talented group of kids. Jesse McCullough was a finalist for Mr. Basketball. Jesse McCullough last night made it clear that he thought he should have been Mr. Basketball in the state of Ohio. 16 points on 8 of 13 shooting, 11 rebounds, dominant defensively, stayed out of foul trouble, and he shut down a third Mr. Basketball candidate, Mason Shrout. Shrout had 18 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists in a losing effort. So a lot of great efforts from a lot of great players who were recognized by the state, but at the end of the day, it comes down to Harvest Prep and Lutheran East. And if you have never seen a track meet, tune in tomorrow, because you're going to see 2 teams that run and run and run and run and run.
Coach, talking about that Lutheran East team, they're so long and they're so fast. There's no holes in that defense to get the ball anywhere. I mean, I just don't know how someone attacks that Lutheran East pressure.
Well, I mean, it's really hard to. But you got to remember something. Lutheran East is battle tested.
Yeah.
They're a program that plays top competition all year long. They go up against the top teams down in that Cleveland area, outside the Cleveland area. I've seen them 3 or 4 times. So those guys are tough. They played their 2 good freshmen that are really tough as well. They've been together. They've been down here, 4 years in a row?
4 years in a row now, yeah.
3 or 4 years?
I think it's 7 years now for them.
So Jesse's been here every year. Those guys have been here every year other than the freshmen. And when you combine that with just the way they play, it's going to be tough for Harvest Prep tomorrow.
So rematch of last year's state semifinal for the D3 title game tomorrow at 2, Lutheran East and Harvest Prep. Division 2, we had 2 opposite games here on this floor this morning. In the first one, Marissa, Kettering Alter just absolutely blitzed Youngstown Ursuline, beat them 73-37.
They did, and Alter showed that they're also battle tested. They've been here on this big stage before. The moment wasn't too big for them, and what they did that really impressed me was they got out early to set the tone, and once they had that lead, they really never looked back and were able to put away Ursuline relatively quickly in that game. But I mean, RJ Greer just truly showed just what a special player he can be too, putting up 24 points, shooting on 9 for 11 on the afternoon. Just that the offense runs through him, and just the 3-point shooting ability that we've seen all season long too. Shot very efficiently this afternoon, and for Ursuline, I mean, I feel like they'll be back for sure at some point. Jalen Gunther showed that he has a lot of upside, a lot of potential playing for his dad. So just an afternoon, though, that was meant for Alter Knights down the stretch.
Coach, in that Alter game, she mentioned RJ Greer. And I think you can tell how special a player is when they get theirs and you don't even really notice it. And I feel like he did. Who I did notice in that game was Joe Bland. He was really effective with them of slicing that defense, Youngstown Ursuline defense, getting to the middle of it, getting to the hoop. He caused a lot of problems.
You know, I really want to talk about that game, but I wasn't here this morning. So I missed that game this morning because I was tired and I didn't have to be here.
It's a lot of ball.
When I came in, though, I was really surprised that when I walked in the door in the back and I looked up at the TV and I saw them up, 30?
Yeah.
They were up 30 running in the third quarter.
Been a running clock.
So I just went and just... I can't really speak on it.
And Youngstown Ursuline, Marissa, you made a great point. They're a really young team. A couple freshmen played big parts of this game. A lot of sophomores on this roster, not a lot of seniors. They're a team that we could look to get back here next year and maybe even the following year.
I fully believe that, especially with the experience that those young players gained throughout the regionals and then here this afternoon. And they went up against a great Alter opponent, an Alter opponent that is experienced. And now with Ursuline having this experience under their belts, I fully believe they'll be back, and especially having a coach like Coach Gunther, too, leading the helm over there. I feel like... Go ahead.
Melissa, what did you see to start the game off? What was the difference between the two teams that Kettering Alter jumped out on them? Were they just not ready for it, or did you see the experience?
It was I definitely noticed the experience, and the composure of Alter was there, where for Ursuline it felt like they were rattled to start off the game, and it took them a while. It really wasn't until the second quarter where you kind of felt like, yeah, they might be starting to get comfortable, and some shots started to fall for them a little bit.
You'd have been awfully proud, Coach, because that team, Alter, for the game, shot 62.2% from the floor, 47.4% from beyond the arc. They were hot all day long. They never cooled off.
I know they're a good team. I've seen them. I know they're a good team.
And I think one of the things that helped Alter, too, in that game we talked about with Luther and East was their length. Their length was just, there were no passing lanes, nothing available for Youngstown Ursuline. Now, I know you're ready. You want to talk about this game we just saw, Coach. It might be one of the best games I've ever been courtside for. Maysville knocks off Shelby 68-65. It's hard to say, talk about a three-point buzzer beater in double overtime in our first game of this tournament, but that one we just saw was probably a better game. It was so fun.
You know, we were talking about that downstairs, and I'll tell you what, that Berlin Highland game was a good game, but it wasn't even close. And I'm going to tell you why it wasn't close. It wasn't the excitement, first of all. The excitement that was in here was unbelievable. It just to be a fan had to give you chills. The excitement, the music that was pumping, it was just, the whole game was just fierce. And both teams didn't just have one player that was good. When you look at that Maysville team, I'm telling you, I have not seen a team all year, and I've seen a lot of high school basketball. I haven't seen one team that plays unselfishly the way they do. They trust in each other. They do a lot of dribble drive. They dribble drive and kick. They pass that ball, and that's what won the game for them, is their unselfishness. And that other team had more, better players to me, skill, but that Maysville team, they played as a team. And they're the perfect example of that team. What do you think about it?
The other thing that really stood out to me about Maysville is just their toughness and the physicality that they played with, especially there in that fourth quarter. And that was something that post-game Dave Brown was mentioning to me too, just that the toughness by his team down the stretch there to really finish off was really one of the difference makers too, I think.
Coach, a lot of times you only have 4 guys score in the game. That's a recipe for disaster. But you mentioned how unselfish Maysville was. Jordan Watson, 26. Alex, Big Shot Bob with 22, and Gator Nichols with 18. They really just dominated that game, those 3. Gator Nichols kind of did in the first half. Jordan Watson had 18 in the second half alone, hit some big threes for them.
But the people that made the difference were the other guys. the other guys are the ones that made the difference. The other guys are the ones that went after, dove on the ground for the balls, rebounded the ball, was making the right passes, jumped in the passing lanes. They did all the dirty work. And those guys gave the buckets, and they said, okay, you give us points, we'll give you everything else. But I'm going to tell you who I fell in love with, that little point guard, number 0.
Gator Nichols.
I love it.
Yeah, he was key, especially in that first half for them. So the D2 final tomorrow night, 5:15. Kettering Alter will take on Maysville. Maysville, that crowd today was electric. They broke the OHSA ticketing site this week trying to get so many tickets. They said they were going to have like 5,000, 6,000 people here, and man, it showed. It was loud. Chris, had you ever been on the sideline for a game like that?
It was one of the most electric experiences I've ever seen. It was just amazing, and each team fed off the energy of their fans. You could tell, maybe the only time all weekend, you could tell that the players were being fed by the crowd, and the coaches were turning around to get their crowd lit up. It was crazy.
And the crowd never slowed down either. When I would go behind the bench to try to listen in on some of the huddles, I could barely hear the coaches speaking to their players, and I'm standing just a few feet away from them. The crowd was absolutely electric.
So, guys, again, D2, Kettering Alter, Maysville. We've talked about what a great tournament this has been. The big boys haven't even played yet. Division 1 is up next, and we're about to have a battle here coming up at 5:15. Cleveland St. Ignatius, they're 24-3 on the year. No stranger to being here, taking on Delaware, who's 27-1, making their first ever appearance. Chris, I know you've seen Delaware the past couple weeks. What's Delaware going to have to do to pull out the win over this good St. Ignatius team?
Yeah, George and I actually both got to see Delaware at Ohio Dominican last week during their regional run.
We called the game together.
Yeah, we called the game together, and they were very, very impressive. But that team, George, you can correct me if I'm wrong because you're the coach, but to me, it's Jesse Burris's team, no question. But the X factor for me is number 3, Jeremiah Russell, the point guard, the sophomore. Because in this environment, if he can keep a calm, cool head and handle the basketball, he is going to make the Pacers very difficult to beat, even by a good St. Ignatius team. But St. Ignatius is without one of their best with Sam Springer.
Yes, and I was just talking to Joyce about that, Cam about that, and, you know, hey, next man up. But I'm going to tell you something. You talk about Delaware Hayes, I'm going to tell you this right now. That point guard, he can go, and I just told Cam that. You know, Cam was asking me about the other guys. I said, well, the guy you need to worry about is Russell.
Yeah.
He's the one that makes that train go. But I got 1 second. I got to get off of this for 1 second. I got to come to her 1 second. I have to ask you something. Do you think that Maysville can beat Alter?
I've been stirring on that ever since that game finished because matchup-wise, I think it's going to be tough. I think Alter might have the edge matchup-wise, but if Maysville can come out with the passion and energy and just that toughness that they showed today, I think they could beat them. But I think I might give the slight edge to Alter.
I'm sorry. I had to ask her. I wanted to ask her that before, I'm sorry. But going back to Hayes,
Yeah.
Hayes is tough.
Yeah.
I mean, you know who else could be the X factor? Number 44.
Oh, yeah.
He's the guy. He could be the X factor too. But, you know, everybody's going to look at Vander Walker. You know, they're going to look at Jesse. But you got other guys, you know.
Well, 14, Jake Lohman, the quarterback. That kid had an amazing regional.
But I'm telling you right now, Hayes this game is a toss-up. People might say, oh, Ignatius, because they don't know about Delaware Hayes. I've seen them. A lot of people haven't. And when you think of the St. Ignatius team, you think of dominance. They've been here, but Delaware Hayes is nice.
And we mentioned Hayes. We talked about the Maysville crowd. Coach, I don't know if you've paid attention as we're sitting here. There's a lot of orange in this building and walking in this building right now for a Delaware team that's making its first trip.
They're coming. They have a great following, and he knows last week at Ohio Dominican, the place was sold out, and the whole side was all orange, and they didn't have enough because the school holds 3,000 kids. So, you know, it's going to be nice to have.
What about the other side of this first game tonight, St. Ignatius? What can we expect to see from them?
A well-coached, well-disciplined, Damon, 6'9". They're a very good team. They move the ball well. great unselfishness with them as well. They attack you. Their guards are tough. They're just tough. They lost one of their best players in Sam Springer.
Yeah.
He got injured, and he had kind of been playing injured on and off through the whole season, and then he re-injured it. Now he's done for the year, but Ignatius is tough.
Ignatius has been here so many times the past few years and in the past decade, but their last state championship is 0-1. It's been a long time. You know they want to break that drought.
I mean, of course, wouldn't you want to? And I think this weekend they have a chance to do it. But it's a tough field. That D1 field is loaded.
Yeah.
You know, it's loaded, so it's not going to be easy for nobody.
So the second game tonight, the second D1 semifinal, that happens at 8:30. Centerville taking on Toledo Whitmer. And Chris, Centerville, they're making their fourth straight trip here. They won one in 2021. A lot of people thought without Gabe Copes, the coach's son, who's off to Indiana now, that maybe this would be the year that the streak ended, but not so much.
No, the Elks are here to play for sure, averaging 65 points a game. They've got, as you said, they've got a championship under their belt. They've got a runner-up under their belt. But Jonathan Powell's the guy to keep an eye on. 6'6" senior guard, 19.7 points a game. He is the engine that makes this team run. They just need to put a couple guys next to him, secondary scorers, if you will, to really make that offense hum and be very difficult to guard.
You know, Jonathan Powell's the Xavier committee. He's going to Xavier. Nice play.
And then Toledo Whitmer, they're 25-2 coming into this one, Coach. The Toledo Whitmer, they've got a proud history at their school, one of the best football programs, especially in the Toledo area. They come in here battle-tested. They beat a tough Garfield Heights team, did it on a last-second shot. What can we expect to see from Whitmer?
A lot of controversy. Toledo Whitmer. We spoke about it yesterday a couple of times. People have been asking me about it all weekend. I talked to Sonny, the coach of Garfield Heights. We can get into that a little bit tomorrow because we're going to have a whole lot of time tomorrow. But Whitmer's tough, man. They got two of the top guards in the state, and Mackay and
Antoine West.
Antoine West, and they really run that shit. But they got core guys that support them really good. So it's going to be a good game. But, you know, with Centerville, my guy, Coach Cups, it's tough when you go against them, man, because he just reloads, but he's got some experience. So it's going to be a good one.
Well, and the grit they showed against Moeller, I mean, that was such a physical ball game and a one-point win against a team that desperately wanted to get back here, and good things happen to them when they get here. So to be able to overcome that obstacle in the regional championship and then move on, very exciting for them.
But when you're battle-tested like Centerville, because you look at it, this is the first time Centerville's really been here without a Big Central team going up against them in the last 3-4 years. But they're battle-tested. You know, when you're battle-tested and you're used to going through playing these games, playing in front of big crowds on a big stage, it's nothing to you. But when you're coming here and you're not used to that, you know, like Whitmer, they had a police escort out of town and they got a lot of people coming, but have they been on this big stage? It makes a difference.
And, you know, when you say that, I think of a Lutheran East team that we talked about earlier. Obviously, they've run the gauntlet in Ohio for years, but most of their losses to this year were to teams outside of the state of Ohio. So when you're playing teams from Pennsylvania and New York and all over the country, coming to something like this, your battle test isn't that big of a deal.
That's right. And if I was a school that's right there on the crust, and I was almost here, and I might have lost in the district finals or the regionals, I want to bring my whole team here. Because I want them to come and feel the electricity in this building. I want them to come and know that, hey, I want to be here. So once they feel that and you get the chills and because the excitement, it makes you want to work harder to get here.
Absolutely.
So Coach, we're getting ready. Division I, our first semifinal. Cleveland St. Ignatius versus Delaware Hayes. Why don't you go ahead and give me a couple keys to this game on what you think each team's gonna need to do?
I thought you was gonna ask me to pick a winner, but
no, I don't want to. We're all winners here this weekend, so we don't want to do that. But
no, I've been not picking them. But I think the keys is for both teams to play their style of basketball. Don't try to do something you usually don't do. Like I just told Cam, I said you guys will be fine if you just play St. Ignatius basketball. So I think the keys for Delaware is to match the toughness that's going to come from St. Ignatius. You know, they're physical guards that'll push you out the way, and, you know, they've got a Robinson that'll be going to Cleveland State to play for his dad next year. Then they've got Big Damon. So they've got to play their style of basketball. For St. Ignatius, don't try to play Delaware Hayes' style of ball, because Delaware Hayes are very, very, they're very, come on, what's the word I want to use? They're very, it's right on the tip of my discipline. So they're very disciplined, and they're going to come at you, they're going to move the ball, but they've got 5 guys on that floor that can score at any time. And you know what I'm talking about. So it's going to be a chess match, and see who, it's going to come down to me, or who makes the right adjustments at halftime.
Chris, you've seen Delaware. I'll go ahead and ask you, what's the key for this Delaware team to get a win tonight?
Well, they've got to control the glass. They're big and long, but they're also very... They've got to assert themselves, I guess is the way that I'll put it, because they can absolutely handle the glass, but they've got to make sure that they're engaged with every play. I think the other one is that we mentioned it earlier, Jeremiah Russell, the sophomore point guard. If he can stay within himself and not turn the basketball over, they're going to be fine.
Coach, for you, who's a player or two to watch in this game?
Well, you want to watch the big guy. David there is for St. Ignatius. And for Delaware Hayes, I'm going to go with the X Factor.
Yeah.
Which one you think it is?
My X Factor is Jeremiah Russell.
I'm going to go with the other one.
You go with number 14, Lohman? Yeah.
Jake
I like
Lohman, the quarterback.
But Jake Lohman, he single-handedly put them on his shoulders and beat Orange. So I think that I'm going to say those 2 guys are going to be key guys, because your other guys are going to give you what they're supposed to give you.
Just to give you a point of reference, Jake Lohman in the regionals, in those 2 games, he doubled his output, his average output for the entire year. He shot 7.4% or 7.4 points per game all season long, over 15 in both of those regional games. He's peaking at the right time.
Guys, we want to thank you so much for joining the OHSA's coverage of the Boys State basketball tournament. The tournament has been great so far. No reason to think these Division I semifinals tonight won't be either. Head over to Spectrum News 1 if you'd like to watch this one. Their coverage beginning right at tip time, 5:15. Or you can catch the OHSAA radio network. Their broadcast getting underway right now. Just head to the OHSAA.org, find the radio network page, and you can get the live link to the audio for that one. For Coach George Howard, for Marissa Contepelli, and for Chris Solwecki, I'm Ryan Baker. Thanks for tuning into our coverage. Enjoy the games, everyone.